residential properties just sell, they're not viewed based on income or cost. So this is a comparative analysis that focuses on properties of similar highest and best use to that of the subject property. So differences between the subject and the comparative properties are analyzed and then adjusted according to differences. So these adjusted selling prices are then reconciled to arrive at an indication of the value for the subject property that is fair and equitable throughout the whole municipality and the area. The best comparisons are those that are sold near the reference date of April 1st, 2021. However, in their absence, sales in the years leading up to the reference date are used. So in order to determine the overall market value, 4 sales comparisons of residential homes are going to be presented, as well as 4 sales of comparable bare land. Just because in this situation, because there's a building, we have to do the land and building, but the main issue is the land. So we're breaking it up into 2 sections here. Page 6, so this is a table. This is showing the comparable land and building sales. So there's the subject property, all the information there. Total assessment, $455,500. The land is $130,800. Auxiliary structures, which is the shed and the hot tub, is $2,200, leaving the residual building value, which is just the home and the attached garage, at $322,500, which works out to a value of $140.10 per square foot. Comparison 1 is over on Silky Way, which is not too far from the subject. It's 2.07 acres. It is 1,440 square feet. It was built in 2014. Similar number of bathrooms, finished basement, attached garage. It sold in February 23rd of 2021 for $545,000. The land value is $127,000. There are no auxiliary structures on this property, so its residual building value is $418,000, which works out to $192.80 per square foot. Comparison 2 is on Road 59 North, which is quite close to the subject property. It's 4.54 acres. It's a 2-story residence. Total, so in the two-story residence, with the way the assessment works is we're just using the main floor square footage. So it's 1,008 square feet, plus it has a 240 square foot addition on it. So a total of 1,248 square feet for the main floor. Built in 2003. Again, similar number of bathrooms, finished basement, attached garage. This one also has a detached garage as well. It sold November 15th, 2020 for $525,000. The land is $164,500. The detached garage is $15,600. So you get a residual building value of $344,900, which works out to $194.20 a square foot. Comparison 3, again, Road 59 North. It's 1-story, 1,550 square feet, 2005 built, has 1 less bathroom, unfinished basement, attached garage. It sold October 17th of 2020 for $506,500. The land value is $156,600. Sorry, there's a mistake here. There's an auxiliary structure worth $27,200. I believe there's a detached shed or a garage on that. I forgot to put that in there. So your residual building value is $322,700, and that gives you a value per square foot of $133.68. And comparison 4, the last one, is on Silky Way again. 1.5-story, 1,570 square feet, built in 2014, similar bathrooms, finished basement, detached garage as well. It sold January 11th of 2018 for $557,500. Land value $130,800. Auxiliary structure value of $42,400. So your residual building value is $384,300. So it gives you a price per square foot of $244.78. So that's just kind of showing you what properties are selling for in this area that are similar, and breaking it down, showing that, you know, we're ranging anywhere from $133 to $244 a square foot, depending on the property and what they sold for. Page 7 is an aerial map showing where the comparables are to the subject property. This is the land and building sales, so giving you a good idea. And page 8. This is the land comparable table. So this is properties that have sold that are just bare land. So again, the subject property is 2.23 acres, assessed at $130,800. Comparison 1 was on 206 Jerome Drive. 2.45 acres, and its assessment is 134,600. It sold in May 6, 2021 for 155,000, which gives it an ASR, which is your assessment to sales ratio of 86%. Comparison 2 is quite a bit larger, but it's still considered a small holding. It sold, it's 41.82 acres. In this case, the majority of the value is in that first 5 acres. So that's why this one is used as well. So we show that the urban land size is 40 acres, and then the residual land value or land size is 1.82 acres. That residual land value would go to either an arable or non-arable land, depending what the type is. It's assessed at 238,500. It sold in July 22nd of 2020 for 250,000. We have an ASR of 95%. So within that 41 acres, like that 5 acres is the majority of the value. So approximately 70% of your value is in that first 5 acres, which is what we use to determine our bare land values for the small holding residentials. Comparison 3, 13.8 acres. Again, it's valued at 186,200. It sold September 2nd of 2020 for 210,500. We're an ASR of 88%. Again, that first 5 acres is where the majority of the value is going to be. It diminishes value after that 5 acres. Comparison 4 is 32 Cocoa Road. It's 2.09 acres. It sold for 95,600. It sold, this is the only sale from Cocoa Estates that sold within our reference period. All the other sales occurred after, so they're post-reference sales. So they weren't able to use, unfortunately, for this reassessment. They would be used for the next reassessment in 2025. It sold, it has a sale amount of 97,500. So assessment ratio of 98%. Those ones also sold for less because they're selling as the purchaser still has to put in the well, the septic service, bring hydro into the lot. And in that area, it has a very high water table. So those properties actually, some of them that have been built currently have, I think only one of the houses so far is a bi-level, but I think only maybe 3 or 4 feet of it is actually in the ground because there's such a high water table there. The other 2 homes that are currently being built are slabs and a small crawl space. So it's just a really high water table in that area. So it's hard to build for that. And below that is just a comparable sales map. Again, this is just the land ones. And then page 9 is just a summary. So after reviewing the characteristics of the property, doing the physical inspection, reviewing some of the sales, we just recommend that the Board of Revision confirm the assessment of 455,500 for the 2023 year. And we just at page 10 and on is just the addenda. So it's just the appeal letter that was attached, and then just some fact sheets that are about assessment and how it works, and then the table of when reassessments occur. That's it for my presentation.
Any council have any questions for Amy's presentation? Gather that nobody has any questions. We just will hand it over to Gary Ross.
You've done this before, haven't you?
A few times.
Yeah. First of all, council, I just want to reference the fact that I'm not disputing the value of my house. It's the land going up $40,000 that I have an issue with. And looking at some of the comparables that Amy has brought forward here, some of the land size is double of what my property is. I have 2.23 acres, and she's quoting 2 of the comparables at 4.54 acres and 4.1 acres. Also, 2 of the other comparables on Silky Way, they have a nice view of the Grand Valley. And what do I see when I look outside my house is I see a gravel pit across the road, and I see the paw operating as well. So You know, I realize land value does go up, but at issue is the $40,000 price tag that's going up with it. The one property over on Cocoa Estates that's sold for $95,600. That's more in line with what I think my property's worth. As well, the other comparables that are listed here, one is 40 acres, one is 13.8 acres. And mine, again, was just 2.23 acres. Unfortunately, most of the properties over at Cocoa Estates, they are all in that 95 range, but they'll be assessed next year, I guess, because they weren't sold in this period or before April 1st, was it?
Right, yeah,
2021, yeah.
yeah, they were sold after the reference date.
Any questions? Amy and Terry, two great presentations put together. I'll speak as me and the council member from the municipality. I'm not a professional land assessor. I mean, I have to put trust in, that's your profession, so. And it made sense the other lots didn't sell, why perhaps Terry's lot is assessed higher, so that's my comments. I don't want to always struggle. As Councilor Brown myself talked about earlier, it's a tough decision to put council in a position. That's not our profession as land assessors. So any other council member doesn't have anything to say?
I want one question. Is there a reason it's up to 40,000?
Just based on the sale, so we reassess every 2 years. So we look at all the sales that have occurred within that 2-year period. And just based on what we were seeing for what properties we're selling for in that, like bare land properties in that 2-year timeframe is why the assessment increased so much. We follow the market value, right? Assessment follows market. So whatever trend is happening within the market at the time, that's why assessments are 2 years behind. That's why we have that reference date so that we can determine what was happening within the market at that time. So in some years the market goes up, some years the market goes down, and during this time frame we found that the market had gone up significantly. So that's the reason for the increase in the assessment.
No other councillor has any more questions? Sure. Okay, good. Councillor, go ahead. Okay, well, I guess we'll close the board revision then. And we don't have a resolution because transition that took place was the resolution, so I just we need a motion.
You can make your decision afterwards. You're really not supposed to make it while myself or the appellant is here.
Okay.
So you guys can further discuss it afterwards, after we've all left. You can discuss it more if you want between you guys and make your decision then.
Okay.
And then there is a form. If you guys don't have it, you can contact.
Yeah.
And you'll get the form and you just fill it out with your decision on it. And then we send that to the appellant and to the assessment office.
Yeah, just for the audience sake, if this came, it was on the agenda, but we had very little information at our fingertips just before the meeting. And thanks to Danielle for working with you, Amy, and Terry to submit this
Yeah.
15 minutes before the meeting, so we didn't have a chance to communicate this. So does the decision have to be made tonight or?
No,
at this
you
meeting?
can make it tomorrow. If you guys have a special meeting that you want to, like a different meeting you want to hold to make your decision, you can make it at the end of this council meeting. It's
Yeah, that's at this point, Amy. I've called a meeting for their special meeting for Thursday at 5 o'clock, so the 48 hours is up. So we have to put it to the next one. We want to stick to the rules. The rules say special meetings, we need 48 hours notice. And
right.
I've asked council, let's try to stick to our procedural bylaws. And So, now,
Yeah,
can we
you can
wait
make
till
your
December?
Yeah, and you
Can
can
we-
make your decision. Well, you have to do it fairly soon because we have to have it, all the deadlines and then everything to make changes, get the final assessments done. But if you guys, you can make your decisions at the end of tonight if you want.
We'll make a decision. We'll move it to the end of the meeting.
Yeah.
and,
And then
discuss
you
it.
can, yeah,
We'll move our decision to, but we'll move it to 13.6. We'll come up with a resolution.
Generally, any time that you do this, we make the decision the night of.
Yeah.
Not the board.
And the resolution, that's a good point, Councilor Ramos. The resolutions are usually in front of us. But again, with the transition, with personnel, we look, a lot of the resolutions weren't ready for tonight. So,
right.
okay, we'll deal with it ready in order revision. Okay, so
All right.
I guess we can close the board revision meeting, this part of the meeting then, or do we leave it open? What's
Yeah,
that?
this part's done.
This part's done, okay. So like I said, it's been a couple of years since we've had this, so I just want to make sure I'm using Danielle's,
Motion to close the
Yes.
hearing.
okay. Councilor Brown, motion to close the hearing. Councilor Maxwell, seconds it. Anything to say, Councilor Brown? Anybody else? Okay, I'll call for the question. All in favor to close the hearing? Hearing is closed. What is it?
Reception
Yeah.
of public hearings and delegations.
Yeah. On the delegation, we can't, we, yeah, Terry may as well come out. Yeah. Be okay for the delegates. We missed a point here. We've got a gentleman from Landmark Landscaping. We asked him to, even though we adopted the agenda, we forgot about the move.
Okay,
This
all right.
committee will be part here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm trying to get your presentation
Okay,
up here, but
Just give me a second here.
oh, yeah.
Zoom is on. Okay, thanks, Bill. Zoom is on.
Yeah, okay, it's live streaming on YouTube.
And we've updated Facebook. So it doesn't matter, you can interact on Zoom anyway.
Okay, I don't know, it's showing me that it's up, so we'll get that rectified on Zoom for the next time, but it is live streaming on YouTube and being recorded, so.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm getting the thumbs up back there that it is, so
Yeah.
thank you so much. How about YouTube?
The YouTube link has been posted
Oh, thank you,
on the RM Group Facebook page.
thank you.
I also tagged everybody that is on the Facebook page complaining about it.
Okay, we'll call the meeting back to order.
Appreciate that.
We'll move the one delegate around. He requested through Danielle to be moved up. So we'll hear delegation from Landmark.
Thank you.
Go
Thank
ahead.
you.
State your name and
Sure, I'm Donovan Tates with Landmark Planning.
Yeah.
I design from our offices in Winnipeg. I appreciate the opportunity to address council, and I do see you have your hands full in terms of somebody filling in and public hearings coming and board of revision, and so all that to say, the presentation is normally a little longer. I'm gonna just cut it down and summarize it and leave the presentation with council for your digestion, because it's a topic that probably deserves a little bit of attention.
I'm trying to get your presentation up here.
We can do this too. Yeah. Everyone promises to follow along. I'm not here asking for anything. I'm just here presenting information for council to consider a project that Landmark is working on. I'm here with Carolina Herrera and Barack Overloos, who are all from Landmark Planning, a small land use planning company. We get involved in public projects, public infrastructure projects, highways, roads, bridges, and also private projects for new developments and infill and so forth. All of the projects we are involved in typically have something to do with either land or infrastructure. In this case, we're here talking about the Assiniboine Delta Aquifer, which is shown on the title page. And we have a subtitle that says towards a new groundwater management plan. We can sum up everything that's in this document with just a few sentences. And I will share some of the document though when we go through it. In a nutshell, there's a lot of water in the Assiniboine Delta Aquifer, and it's managed.
Just tell me when to flip.
Oh, very good. Thanks. You got it. Appreciate that. It's managed. The water is a provincial resource, so it's not the responsibility of each respective RM, and it also doesn't belong to each RM, of course, but it is a provincial asset. We all own it, if you will, and it's regulated by the province. It's been a long time since the province originally set up the way they regulate this aquifer, and that's what the presentation talks about. Our main objective is to work with the province to see if they're willing to adjust the regulatory regime for the ADA to change how that aquifer is managed. And that's the information I'm presenting to council this morning. We do, or pardon me, this evening, it's been a long day. We do intend to come back if you'll have us in January, February with updates to this project. So this is simply an update on the project we're pursuing. With that said, I'll direct everybody to page 2. That one shows the location of that Assiniboine Delta aquifer. It's very large. It lies, starts just as the map shows, just a little bit east of Brandon, extends all the way up to Neepawa. Carberry is right in the center of it. Portage is not. Portage is further east than that aquifer. So we're working with freezing drillers, and we've been retained by what's shown on the next page, page 3. An entity with a very long title, Manitoba Horticultural Productivity Enhancement Center, Inc. And you can replace all that with the word potatoes. That's essentially potato growers. And I'll just pause on the presentation briefly. I mentioned the types of work that Landmark does. We don't take every client that comes in the office asking for help. Potato growers approached us saying we could generate more potatoes that helps the economy if we could get more water. And we had a long talk with them and said, we don't think we can get the potato industry more water. However, if we are able to talk to everybody who makes use of the aquifer shown on this map, sorry, I keep forgetting that it's up on the screen.
It's okay.
But that's a great map to stop on. Thank you. And that map shows all the RM's boundaries with the aquifer overlay on top of it. So we said we don't think that that's feasible to get more water. There's a long lineup for water, including perhaps in your RM. But we said we can talk to the province about perhaps updating how they regulate that water. Way back in the 60s, there were estimates of how substantial this aquifer is, but they were estimates and they were based on the science of the 60s. And it hasn't been addressed ever since. So what they did back then is they simply said, we think there's this much water in that aquifer. Let's allocate half of it. And they literally said half, 50%. And that's the science that went into that part. And that hasn't changed. And we've got data, University of Manitoba has data, even the province has data. What we're proposing is to try and get everybody together, including your RM, all the other RMs on this map, many stakeholders, including the potato growers industry, to talk together about changing how that measurement is done. If there's much more water in the aquifer and we can all share it properly, why not change the regulatory regime? If there's not enough, maybe we really need to change it and dial it back. Hopefully that's not the answer, and I don't think that is the answer. But that's what this project is us trying to assemble everybody to see if we can help change that regulatory regime. That's what's in this presentation. This map, I said, is important. Just a reminder, and is that you can't just take water, so nobody can just go and grab that water. It needs a license, and the province regulates that. So we really do need to find a way to share it and progress the use of it a little further than the 60s. The next slide shows the basins of the aquifer. So way back when they divided the aquifer into basins, so they can figure out a little more easily how to hand out allocations. So they hand out allocations for water licenses on a basin basis. That's what that map shows. The next map we're using to show that a lot of people are interested in water. Go to the next slide. A lot of people are interested in water, and hence our job is challenging to go and make sure we talk to everybody who's got an interest in water, which is everyone in this room and in our province. But there are lots of organizations. The little map shown on this slide is of irrigation wells, and we're assembling a map right now of all the licenses granted. So there's already very extensive use of the aquifer, and there could be better use of the aquifer. We're not the first ones to talk about this. The next couple of slides talk about what occurred in 2005. I keep thinking that's yesterday. That's 17 years ago. Time has flown. I keep seeing anything with 2000 seems new to me, but it's not. It's 17 years ago. And a lot of good discussion and planning happened. That little picture shows some of the things that they wanted to do back then: monitoring, water quantity, quality plan, irrigation co-management plan, awareness education plan. So there were lots of good things to be done, but not a lot of those things were carried out. So here we are again, awakening a conversation about the ADA. Hopefully we can all collaborate to make it better. The next slide is a list, the slide behind this is fine. There's a list of people who participated. It's very, very extensive. And so again, we want to reach out to everybody who participate. So just a couple of highlights from their background study. There's 2,200 urban and 7,400 rural residents relying on the aquifer. It's a lot. 40% of the lands in the region are considered good to excellent for irrigation. Another 35% considered fair. Also major processing plants. You have some here or nearby here that also need water. So everybody needs water. Plan 05 included this map. It's very similar to the last one. That last one was showing, the last one was showing, go to slide 10, was showing irrigation wells. This one's showing monitoring wells. This.
Meeting is live on YouTube.
Yeah, good to do that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Thanks, sir.
Good to go. Next slide. That one's showing monitoring wells, and I mentioned science. Science is pretty important. We think it's not everything. You got to marry the science with politics or decision making. So there's lots of monitoring wells and data that's available, and we would like to make use of that in the discussions that are planned. The next slide I mentioned already is that 50% rule. I think I made the point there, so we'll just go to the next one. This one shows some of the data, and I've realized I'm going very fast here, but again, I'll leave this with you and circle back and have a more leisurely conversation about this. But the on the left is all those basins you saw on the map. On the far right is what's available in each of those, and you see some zeros. So there's nothing available from an allocation perspective. There's a lot of water in the ground, but it's allocated up to the 50%. So we think some good discussion and science can change that for the betterment of development and economics for the province. I should reiterate, I'm not here for the province. Here's an independent consultant. We'll speak our minds to our client, who right now is the potato growers. I would like to have, they're basically fronting the money so we can have this group conversation. My intent is to get everybody to the table. Ideally, you'd all be my clients, but that's not going to happen. But I get us all to the table. It's the objective to talk about this. Well, just two more slides I'll share is the one after this one. We'll skip this one. And that graph, the only thing I'd really want to point out on this graph, what you're looking at is data that starts on the left at 1965 and ends at the right at 2005. And if you look at the blue, we're talking about average annual groundwater levels. And what I would point out is the first 2/3, like from 65 to 85, lots and lots of water. And then I'm sure our memories, collective memories remind us of the next 10 years of a decade was very low. And then the next 5, it's very high. Point being, through all of this, the regulatory regime said not 50% of what you see, 50% of the 1965 number. So it didn't adjust at all for the changes in the aquifer, and we think it could be smarter and it would benefit all of us. So that's the basis. We're going to think about all this. We're going to talk to everybody about this idea, put our heads together, come up with a strategy, all with the intent of talking to the province, whom we've already talked to. They know we're pursuing this, but all with the intent to say, hey, maybe we can adjust this to make it better for everybody. And that's the end of the story for now. So I'm very happy to take questions on a very quick presentation. As I mentioned, we are just starting. This is our 4th council that we're visiting in the last week or so. And then we intend to meet all the other councils and stakeholders and share this exact same story, come up with a draft strategy, and come back here to your council if you have us, and let you know what we think could be done and see if we can gain your participation. Or buy-in, perhaps is the better word. Again, I'll turn this back to you, Reeve, and if there are any questions, I'm happy to take them.
I was wondering if there's a correlation between Manitoba's recent announcement about water management strategy.
I'll say yes and no, not to be political, no offense to politicians in the room. We started this before that water strategy came on board, and Landmark's been working in other water projects, helping form co-ops and getting water supply for municipalities and so forth. I heard the water strategy was coming out, and so we asked for a meeting. What is this water strategy you're planning? Can you make sure that it's not at odds with the kinds of good work that others are doing? And so we got to participate in that water strategy. So I knew about it coming, but same as you, I read about it when it came out in the media. We've reviewed it carefully, of course, because we have a few water projects on the go, and we want to make sure that nothing is like that. Those policies are supportive of the work we're doing, and they are. So yes, there is a correlation, in as much as those policies talk about collaboration, they talk about updating science, and they talk about doing a better job with regulation. So it all fits. They're high level policies. If you've read it, it's a strategy document, not an action plan.
Yeah.
So I think their next steps are action items. We're well tuned to it.
That's pretty much the same question.
Okay.
One question there.
Sure.
Your data, let's open that presentation, just for the audience. It stops at, I guess, 04. Just wondering what you got for data from 11, 14.
Yeah.
The flood year.
Right, 11, 14, yeah,
Yeah.
we're working on some flood infrastructure too, so I'm keen on those years.
Yeah.
There's lots of data. Yeah, the answer is lots of data.
Okay.
You know, I included this slide not as a
Yeah.
data piece, but as a, hey, we have lots of water sometime and not lots
Yeah.
other times, but
So you
we'll be,
eventually put
yeah,
it in.
yeah.
Okay. Did you, even though it's not on here, did you see an increase in that water table
You
in
know,
those years?
normally sitting in this empty chair here is a gentleman by the name of Jeff Bell, who's a hydrogeologist. I'm the mouth, he's the science, so and unfortunately, my understanding of the data is pretty low.
So-
I need Jeff to be able to
I
answer
see.
your
Okay.
question.
Yeah, that's fair.
But
That's
we'll,
fair.
like I said, and we can certainly work through James here if I realize there's a time crunch here, and it's kind of a heavy topic. And if council would like to arrange another meeting by Zoom, we'd be happy to take some
No, I
time.
was just wondering, those are memorable years for a lot of people in this room, those
Yeah,
years.
well, the correlation, that's surface water. So, you know, we're talking about groundwater. Those are the two categories. Surface water has a very strong relationship with groundwater. As it sits on the surface, some of it's percolating down and refilling the aquifer.
That's good. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Taking the time. That's very good information. We'll, nobody else in council has any more questions?
I have one question for council, if that's okay, in terms of your current water supply. If there's, I'm not sure if that's something we can cover in another meeting, but whether you're running into water supply issues in your RM. We're asking each RM as we go around if you're facing particular water supply issues at all.
Where I live from the west of 18th Street, my direct neighbor, when he was watering his shelter boat, just 2-acre lot, he's run his well dry. And then there's some folks who live just a couple of lots away from us. They can't flush the toilet and do all the dishes at the same time.
Yeah, and that's if I may, it's a common. There's a bit of a misunderstanding, and I had to learn a lot about aquifers, and again, my knowledge is only very basic. But there's people draw a conclusion that's not quite right when it comes to aquifers, which is if this is the aquifer depth, you know, ground's here, and then the water starts a certain level down, and it goes all the way down in this aquifer, very far down, like over hundreds of meters. So that's all full of water, and it's never not been full of water. But if someone's well is, I don't know how deep their well was, but if their well is say 100 feet deep, some people have sandpoint wells or a few feet deep there, then as soon as if there's a water table change that goes down this far, even though there's a massive amount of water down there, but their well just doesn't reach the water, they conclude there's no water, but actually their well is just not in the water. So often people are concerned that the aquifer has run dry, when in fact it's the well. It's dropped, sure, a bit, but it hasn't run dry. But just the well isn't reaching that water level at that point. And that could be due to climactic changes, as we've seen in the chart. So it's really important to know from each person who talks about a change in water regime or their well not working, what kind of well do they have? What depth is it at? What is their immediate circumstance? So it's very situational in terms of those stories.
What Councilor Ross was talking about, there's other areas in the municipality that would love to have water, and municipalities, and we've engaged with an engineer to look at it, give us a strategy. And move
Super.
forward.
Yeah, thank you.
Nobody else has a question? Oh,
I just one, when you're talking about the aquifer, that's just to the east of us here. I don't think there's any licensing left to be had to draw any more water.
Right, okay.
I understand.
And that's the issue.
Yeah.
That is the issue. You know, if the science is right now saying that's right, there is no more water, then there's a problem and we'll have to think of something else for that situation. But if the science is saying, well, there is a lot more water and we can safely, sustainably, not take more so that it hurts things, but if it can be safely done, then why shouldn't it be done? But like I say, we have to marry the science with the decision making, and those things are not together right now.
Because we were looking at doing another municipal well down towards Spruce Woods area
Right.
and couldn't do it because there's no more available licensing.
Yeah.
To draw from.
Yeah, that's the story. That's it. Yeah, thanks for emphasizing it and making it real. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for taking the time for us. Busy night.
We'll move to accept the presentation. Councilor Ross, can I have a second? Councilor Dorman, second. Receive and follow the information. Thanks a lot.
Great, thanks.
Appreciate it.
Skip ahead to.
Yes, yeah.
6.3.
Yes.
So I guess we're back.
Yeah, to 6.3. Thanks for the next delegation itself. Kurt Wasserberg, Curtis, I don't know if they're coming. But at the end of the day, we appreciate your patience. This gentleman requested before the meeting move up, and we forgot to mention. Here.
6.2.1 proposals and subdivision.
Gentlemen.
Okay, I didn't know, I thought we were doing delegations before, but if we want to go back now
Yeah,
to the proposal to subdivide, we can.
Yeah, we'll
Because
go.
we skipped ahead to the delegation.
Yeah, we're going by the most recent.
Let's go back to the most recent.
Okay. 6.2.1, proposal to subdivide. Is the applicant here? And the resolution is at your fingertips there, gentlemen. Now, I've got a recommendation here that council can take it into consideration. It is a subdivision application. In talking to our engineer earlier today, it's not related to this matter, but it ties into this matter. It's not directly related. I
don't know if the applicant's here.
No,
Okay.
I don't think the applicant's here. Peter Tynes here. My recommendation to council, the meeting on Thursday is tying into this proposed subdivision. So if we could table that, if council is okay, it's a long application. There's some issues in there that council needs to be aware of. And I'll tell you, if you folks want to, if I could just share something with you that's been on council, and actually there's a few people in the audience that will understand that. Can you bring that folder up? The application.
Under the report to council.
Yes, report to council. The applicant has tied in, he's just for the audience and for council, he wants to downsize lots in the existing subdivision, which I think council is okay. But what he has done, I think he's tied in the east side of Main Street and Chater into this. And I want to be very cautious. I think we need to huddle outside this. Do we want to go down that road? Because the east side of this application is not in the sewage collection system, and he's got it tied in here. I'm really concerned about that, but I'll leave that to council. I would recommend that we table it until we talk to a municipal engineer who's coming on Thursday to talk about the tender of the treated sewage collection. I think he's thinking the applicant, and he's not here. I think he's thinking he's tying into that system, and it's two different situations here. So if you want to bring the map up, just so.
There was a finite number of available resources
Yes.
that could tie in.
Could, yes, yeah. And when the local improvement was done at that time, even the downsizing of lots wasn't included. I'm just giving everybody a bit of a history. However, the engineer said there's room for 8 to 9 more lots. He's included a lot more, and that worries me. I just want to make sure we communicate with community planning. Do we need to include those lots on the east side? If you want to bring up the map, I think.
I don't know where the map is.
Okay,
Where do you see that?
well, there's a map here somewhere. I see it right here.
Under which one?
It's page number 37 of that 40-page report.
The application.
Yeah, on the application. Yeah, okay, sorry, it's on the application. Just want to make sure we're doing the right thing. We're not rejecting anything. Go to page, it'll be page 37. It's on mine. When you start seeing the colors, keep going, right there. Okay, try it a bit more.
A little bit.
Oh, right, actually, it's right there. In the top left, top right-hand corner. Right mouse there. See on the map, the second picture. In here, right, on this, on the top one there, put your mouse in the top right. See those lots on the east side of Main Street there. Actually, I had to right there for count.
Oh, that's
Those-
on there. Okay, there.
Right
yeah,
there.
yeah, Okay. good.
When I seen those lots, I'm saying, I think he's got them included in his application, and before we approve anything, I think we better be very careful what we approve here. So I don't think the application is gonna go away, but I think it's time for us to consult with the community planning and the engineer to see what has he got up as, What's
Mr.
his
Chairman, we should just make a motion to table it till
okay,
the
okay.
next meeting.
You wanna table it to the next, make a motion, Councilor
I'll
Brown?
make the motion
Okay.
to table it till
Okay.
it's a Thursday special meeting.
For more clarification. Councilor Maxwell seconded. Anybody else has question? No, I'll call for the question to table it to the next meeting for clarification. We'll discuss it with our engineer, but can't say we're gonna make so. Okay. So it's that one. So we'll make sure it's on damn radar so we can show them. No, okay. Yep.
You've got us marked down to go together, but I think they were supposed to be separate.
Plus my, more or less, my part will be, I think, short. It is just a few items I picked up on last week's agenda. And,
Mr. Westberg, can you please state
Yeah.
your name?
yeah, I can
Just for the audience, you know,
Yeah.
what we found out just before the meeting, we just had the delegations, just a housekeeping issue. There was no submission that we know of, but in looking into the emails from the
Yeah.
former CEO, we decided, okay, there was a one-line email submitted, and we will let it go, but in the future, this council plans to have a delegation form, and we'll fill it out, we'll make it part of our procedure.
I
bylaw.
appreciate that.
It'll be on the
I
website.
overlooked that.
Yeah, okay,
My name is Kurt Wasserberg. I reside in DRM Cornwallis for over 45 years in Spruce Woods. Been on council for on and off for the last 20 years. And that's about, I can say about me. I have a presentation for the CEO. Part of it, whatever I don't know. And my more or less it's a questionnaire. Our council organization meeting, the act says our own bylaw says, following a general election, Marie must call an organizational meeting of council within 30 days. Is there anything like that planned in the future? Because you've got to appoint the committee heads, you're going to appoint the committees and everything else to make this council work properly. Like I'm just, you don't have, I don't want an answer right now. I will put this forward and then if I get a response, that's fine. We do. If you want to give it forward to committee, that's good too. I'm just one of the points over the years that I sort of picked up. The next part is the committee meeting last week at 4:30. It should say on the notes being taken, who took the notes, then there is no end time on the bear with me. On the minutes as such, just points to work with. And my more or less one of the bigger points is are the minutes available for the special meeting of council at 7 o'clock? Like I attended the first meeting that was done more or less at 5:30, but then council started or was continuing whatever, and there was a special meeting planned for 7 o'clock, 7 p.m. as far as I know. It's on the agenda, it's on the municipal website. Like it was not posted, whatever, as a planned meeting, just that I knew about it because I sort of cruise and then suddenly pops up the agenda for board meeting for that particular thing. So is there minutes coming forward?
Continue with your presentation and we'll answer.
Okay.
Make any questions or answer any questions you might have.
And those are more or less my questions. The main question is the minutes of the 7 o'clock meeting.
If I'm, ask, everybody knows, that's for the audience and also for Mr. Wasserman. By the way, thanks for all the years of service you sat on council. It's well appreciated from the community, but I think everybody knows in this municipality, we've gone through some changes in this office. CEO, previous CEO resigned, he moved on. So at the end of the day, this council, I'm very proud of this council, how we acted to reach out to the people that guided us through this and hired a local firm that brought in our interim CEO and an interim CFO to keep the lights on in this municipality. I'm so proud how council acted. So yes, the minutes will be printed, but I'm asking people for their patience. We've got a new interim CEO. We had to find passwords, very little documentation left for us for the current administration. My goal is the minutes will be up when, we can't promise you, but it's high on Mr. Montgomery's list.
What meeting was that?
The special meeting that you weren't at. It was a meeting that the CEO, the previous CEO called. We came to,
I thought it was up already.
It doesn't matter. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Like now we know the explanation is there. And also looking at the agenda in our bylaws, there's a specific states the agenda, like the 0.12, whatever, and most of the time we go by that. And unless you have at the end people that wait, then you move on forward instead of waiting till the end of the meeting, whatever. That's the procedure, whatever. But other than that, can I hand it over to you? And does anybody have some more questions?
I just, Mr. Westerberg, I just want to, thank you again for your years of service and, everything that, what I've been doing is trying to figure out what happened before I got here. But all I can say is going forward, I'm committed to doing the best we can. to make sure this RM functions. Thank you for this. Those minutes from November 9th should be up on the website, and if they're not, well, there was 2 meetings.
2 minutes, yeah.
Okay.
Well, that sort of throws the monkey wrench in, and I understand, and that's why I asked the question. Question has been answered. I appreciate it. So I'm good.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I'm a little nitpicker for little stuff. Sorry, and it shows, but thanks for your patience.
Yeah, actually, I'll make a comment, Councilor Rosberg, you're right, the procedure by law. Nobody, it was the previous CEO that put out the agenda. We came to the meeting and the question remains, there are procedure bylaws says I have to call a meeting within 30 days to appoint a deputy reeve. He put it on the agenda. We kind of questioned a lot of these things, but we figured it's time to move on. We've got a deputy reeve and the procedure bylaw we're working on it, and the organization bylaw.
You're moving.
Yeah, we're moving ahead.
Okay.
We're gonna do whatever we can. We got a special meeting on Thursday that we just called today. We want to keep this office and keep the service of the people out there, everybody happy.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
So, great. Thanks for your time.
Now, receive, Councilor, Mr. Westburn. Yep, Mr. Ross, second, and Councilor Brown. Thanks again. Bill Curtis, you're on the clock. And Bill, before you start, thanks for the 4 years of service you provided this municipality. Yep.
Bill Curtis, live in the RM of Cornwallis. First of all, I'd like to thank the council for running for the positions that you have secured. I hope that you can all work as a team for the residents and for the RM. The points that I need to talk about is special meeting, election irregularities, code of conduct, municipal act, potential violations. I'll go into each one separately. Special meetings called without a 48-hour public notice. Potentially not following procedure bylaws, and I've heard rumors that the gravel bylaw was discussed in length in camera under personal matters. Direction was discussed as options for new gravel bylaw. Election Act potential violations. Former complaint regulated regarding interference on election day, and scrutineers were cautioned more than once by chief election officer and direction at the direction of the CAO. Electioneers at polling stations is not permitted under the act. Photographic evidence was provided at the Cornwallis polling station. Code of conduct. I believe there should be a third-party investigation. RCMP, whoever you guys decide, referral to determine the facts and made public. Municipal Act potential violations. Meeting in camera, potentially for matters not allowed under the act. Gravel again. Interference with police. Cornwallis Authority under the Police Service Act. I was advised that the police I was advised that Cornwallis Police was advised not to contact the CAO members of council or myself regarding the Elections Act, Municipal Act, or bylaw infractions. That's dealing with the law. That's not right. My question for the reeve will be to step aside until a third-party investigation is able to make a determination of facts for the public review, and will council make this transparent and open to the public? I will expect a reply within 5 working days from council. Thank you for the opportunity to bring these concerns forward. I have a copy here so that you guys can look it over. I don't expect answers today. Thank you.
The presentation.
Mr. Chairperson, may I ask a question?
No, Councilor, or Mr. Curtis had the floor. Can I have a motion to receive and file the presentation from Bill Curtis? Councilor Maxwell moves it. Councilor Ross seconds it. Any councilor have any question? Okay. Thanks, Bill. Okay, next on the agenda now, report, Jennifer Ray, I'm sorry.
No, you won't get out of this level. How do you walk?
Some of you probably don't even know.
Yeah,
No, Ed Murray.
Jennifer Grant.
Lake
from-
Clement.
Well,
I know you've heard about Lake Clementi. You've heard about Lake Clementi, and I'm here to hear what you've heard about Lake Clementi.
you want to hear? Okay.
What's the update?
Okay, the update is that, you heard it, there was a meeting called with the engineer that the municipality engaged with back in, I'm gonna say, June, August, okay? He was here, and thanks Jennifer for respecting me. I just wanted to get council up to speed. Jennifer wanted to come, and she asked me if she could come, and I asked her if she could wait for another opportunity, and she respected that, and I have to give her credit. What we heard from the engineer was a learning curve, and I've got a report that I will hand to you after this, is information, a lot of work was done. And where we left the meeting was an hour-long presentation.
I wish we could have been involved.
What's that?
I wish we could have been.
And you will have that same opportunity. I want to get new council up to speed without interference, and there was no secrets in it. In fact, Council Wasserberg, or Mr. Wasserberg was here at the time. And what we left with is, at the end of the day, a lot of data. We got a lot of data, a lot of history. I was educated, and you will have that same opportunity to get you educated. So where we left is Phil Dorn. And I asked Councilor Maxwell and Councilor Brown to be engaged. I wouldn't mind going to that meeting as well. The next step for Phil Dorn is to meet with the most important component down there, is the landowner that we need to make the next move. I think, I'm not going to say the name. It's very important. He needs to get educated by a professional engineer. There was 99 different opinions out there, what needs to be done, and all kinds of ideas. The professional engineer had it up on the screen. I was very impressed with the information. So will you folks, but we need the landowner's buy-in, and the two councilors, myself and the CEO, will try to get together with that landowner before we call the next meeting, where we'll get every affected landowner involved to see where the next step goes, because we need that landowner to sign off to agree what the finished product would look like if council moves ahead. I will open it up to Council Brown, Council Maxwell, and any other councilor, but I was really pleased. You will leave here with the report. I've asked Phil, the engineer, if it's okay to share it. He says, absolutely. You will have an opportunity to ask him questions once we need this landowner. I can't stress it enough. I think Councilor Brown and Councilor Maxwell will agree with me. We need his buy-in to take it to the next step. There's no use having meetings and all kinds of reports without his buy-in. So, Councilor Brown, have you got some?
If we can, so you were invited to come to the committee meeting? Or told not to?
No.
I
Because-
echo some of the sentiments of our past two delegates, and it's frustrating having such turnover in the office because agenda's not being posted, and then you find out on the side that there's a meeting that I'm like, well, when were you going to notify public of this? Because that's a very important meeting for me. So I did message, and we did converse, you and I. And when at the end of the night, Ed and I both said, we both wanted to be at that meeting. But if it's for council to get up to speed, and council is going to then give me all the information after, then I'll respect how the new council wants to get on board. But I still, as Ed just said, I regret not coming to that meeting.
Jennifer,
because I wanted to see that presentation, because we talk about the landowner who needs to get, we need to get the buy-in, but I'm the one that's the most impacted. So there's two of us. And then a whole bunch of others, and a whole pile of opinions. So it's taken
You
us a
said
long
99
time.
opinions.
Well, it's taken us a long time to get to this point, so it just, I'm not gonna lie, like, I still wish we had been there just to sit back and see the presentation. So that's some of my questions tonight is, so when is this meeting with the landowner?
Jennifer, can I add, I called Councillor Brown the night before when you called me to come. It's not that we didn't want you there, because I wanted to be fair. And if I would have said yes to you, Councillor Brown agreed with me, we would have had to invite the other
It's a public
landowner.
meeting.
It's a
It should have,
public meeting,
anybody could have been here,
and at hindsight, and
and it wasn't
Give-
posted, and no one knew about it.
She
I
found
found
out
out
by
because I-
accident.
it's
I dropped my dog off
the
with a friend.
the CEO called the meeting. I didn't call that meeting. He called the meeting.
I know,
And I now regret, maybe we should have called a meeting because we want that landowner to be the next, he's gonna be our ally. But we need him. Without him, folks, this project isn't going anywhere without big money. So we need, and I talked with Councilor Brown, he agreed with me that if we invite one.
We already know he's not gonna allow it.
well, and I have some other points.
Yeah,
about-
so anyways, that's, I made a mistake, Jennifer, I'm sorry if I wanted to keep it low key to get that one landowner on our side, and we need them.
Well, and I understand, we have 3 counselors that have not heard boo about this unless you're watching anytime we've been in here before. So getting up to speed is like, hey, call me if you want to know. I'll gladly take anyone's phone call because these guys have been hammered with our issues for a while now. So it's just, I understand a transition period and I understand it's just hard to hear about it on the side, find out about it, message, respect the wishes of just let council deal with, and then find out other people were here. You know what, I still regret not coming. I'm just, it's out there. So now you want to have a meeting with the primary person that we need to get buy-in from. Does it make sense to have separate meetings with a bunch of people? Or why not have us all, so we can all hear the same information? Do you know what I mean?
Well,
So it's not that one thing is said to party A, and then I hear something that different, or we're all there to interpret the same because we're all hearing the same. So what's the timeline for when that meeting's gonna happen? Is there a timeline? Has it been booked?
The timeline, I guess, would be probably to deal with Samson Engineering to set up meeting with the said person and myself and Mr. Maxwell. And,
But that hasn't been set yet.
that hasn't been set yet.
So my first question that I was gonna
But I
ask,
would like to hope in the very near future before Christmas time, because when it's Christmas time,
Everything's shut down.
it's put on for a long time, so.
well, and that was one of my first questions, is what's the timeline for having the drainage reestablished? Because it should have been established for spring, because now we're in a bad spot again. We went from having some reprieve, some hope, to having an entire thing filled in and closed off, and the lake is not that much lower than it was last fall. So we could potentially be in the same spot again next year. A
Jennifer,
state of
trust me,
emergency was called.
there's some good information in there that I didn't know. I was only involved in this when the state of emergency, the previous read called state of emergency, which was the right thing to do. Council made a decision to hire an engineer to put all other opinions aside and get it from a professional. We've got it, you will get it. You will have an opportunity to sit down, but I made a decision. I think it's wise to keep the first meeting, the tensions low. And I wasn't at any meetings where there was lawsuits and all that, threatening and all that. I didn't want that at this meeting. I have hope in that landowner that he will cooperate when he sees the information that's been gathered. I don't know that gentleman. I have confidence that the data that will be presented to him will maybe shed some light. There might be a resolution to this, but let's walk through. We didn't have a CEO to book a meeting, so now we've got a CEO on. I'll put it on his shoulders instead of the shoulders of the council, but I really want the two councils to get engaged and be at that next meeting. I will make a point to be there. I'll take a day off if I have to. We really need this, that landowner to help us here. But without him, I don't know where we're going.
We're out of time on this, but I would like to give Jennifer the last word here, because, you know, when it comes to this level of government, what I want to say is that, you know, the other levels of government maybe aren't as close to home. This is very close to home. This is your home and this is your livelihood. And so the last word is to Jennifer. And what I can tell you is that I'll do everything I can to help in the situation.
So I'm being limited to 10 minutes when no one else has been?
That's why I'm giving you the last word here. We're already over time for the presentation, so. Go ahead.
I have 4 more questions. Was it clarified with the engineer if anyone actually owns a natural drain? Yes or no? What is the RM's thought on expropriating the property if you need it for the drain? What's the plan for the stakeholders meeting? Will the engineer be presenting so everyone in the group can see the plan and presentation? Has anyone in the RM contacted legal counsel to understand your rights and responsibilities? Because it's a big one. It's a big one, and you're dealing with someone who thinks his lawyer is going to get it the way he wants it. So I don't know if there's any answers for any of those questions since I'm out of time.
I can tell you, we didn't discuss anything. Our primary goal, council was there, is to see the report, get me up to speed. I learned a lot there. There was some questions answered. It's in the report. I can't emphasize enough, Jennifer, what you just closed your closing remarks. We don't want to get into this lawsuit and all that. We need buy-in from that landowner.
Does he even own it? That should have been clarified with the engineer.
Yeah.
And I mentioned that to you to clarify with him.
Yeah.
So
The drainage is on the property owner's property. I'm of the opinion the landowner owns that drainage. Or it's his opinion. So let's work closely with the engineer, let him call a meeting, the CEO, and then we'll move forward. Jennifer will, if you want to be at the next meeting, so be it. I mean, we'll invite you.
I wanted to be at every meeting. Anytime this lake is on the agenda, I expect to know about it, which is in my delegation letter as well. And I was not notified about the last meeting. So serious folks, I know we have a major concern.
And that,
And Mr. Chairman, I believe that we dropped the ball. We should have been invited. They could have sat in the audience, seen our stuff over the TVs. And the other said person could have been here too and seen it firsthand, because that's who we're dealing with. These people here, that their house was gonna get flooded. It was right up to the basement of their house. And you know, we can't let this go on and on. It has to be dealt with, and it has to be dealt with quickly.
yeah, I will talk to CEO and the meeting will be right here. I'll make that.
So Jennifer and I spoke yesterday for the first time.
I apologize. You caught me after 6. I hadn't slept yet after 6 night shifts. So Ed, when we hung up, he said.
My wife works night shifts, and I know what that's like. So you don't have to apologize. Like I'm here. I'm not here as you know, I'm not anyone's side. I want to be here to help if I can and to sort things out. I've been able to do that in my past, so I'm confident that we'll be able to come to a resolution sometime.
I look forward to hearing from council when we need to be back.
No, that's her report. I'm sorry. Jennifer's your report.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you. Are we in over for a second?
We gotta move on, Bill, so thanks for the offer, but
No, maybe you
With
should.
everything
Please.
that's going on, you can't
Well,
get a little bit
yeah.
of leeway on this,
No,
but you
let's
drop the
not,
ball.
in order, the delegation.
Somebody else gets to talk.
Yeah.
It's not an open meeting. No.
No,
Okay.
report of committees. Let's go on to the next agenda, number 7. Just nothing. Exception petitions, nothing. Community.
Yeah.
We did. Yeah.
No, we didn't do a motion. to
Make a
accept her
motion
presentation.
to
Oh, I
accept.
thought my.
We need to do that.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'll back up. My mistake. A motion to accept the presentation from Jennifer in 8th grade. Council Maxwell, and I'll have a second. Council Brown seconds it. Any discussion? Any on that? Call for the question. All in favor? Okay. Here. I thought it was. Now, just for the people out there, they're with the transition and all that. We don't know where if there was any communications received, so that folder is blank, so we can't use worried about receiving communication. Yeah.
Committee or petitions.
Yeah. So we're down to finance. See, we don't have a.
We'll have to table that.
Yep, let's table that right over, sure. This just happened in the last few hours today for the finance, how about the authorized expenditures? We're dealing with the EMM later on.
Yeah, that would be under. We could do that. You know.
Yeah. We moved it down to the 15, the 13.6 of the EMM.
Okay.
Or, yeah. Okay, we'll go then to financial statement. There's no financial statement either.
Not at this time, but we will have endeavor to have one for the next meeting.
Okay. Bylaw.
So, Mr. Chairman, should we have some sort of a motion to say something about the accounts and the expenditures and statement, financial statement? Because
Do we
we have to say something, whether we've tabled it to the next meeting or what.
Council Collins, a good point. Can we go put something in there that due to the transition, there was none of this information available for 7, 8, 9, 10, 10.1, 10.2, and 10.3. We didn't have any, include them all. People have to understand we're in a transition period and we're trying to extract as much information as possible.
So
Somebody have some sort of
transition
motion.
period 0 to report at this time. Or
A motion.
I can make the motion. to
Yeah.
State that
table it. Yeah, to
it's
table
tabled
it.
to our special meeting,
Yeah.
if there's enough time to get everything gathered for that.
So Council Brown, so just to, so number 10, 10.1, 10.2, 10.3,
Yes.
table it to the next week. Yeah, due to the lack of information. Okay, motion. Yeah, motion. So I'll have a motion for Council Brown. Council Ross seconded. Anybody else has a question? All in favor? Yeah, okay, carried. Now, bylaws.
So, aggregate mining and transportation bylaw 1707/05, 2022. Second reading. So I wasn't here for the first reading, so you guys are.
Just for some background, you know, this is just to adopt the provincial regulatory new aggregate mining and transportation fees that the province set up. This isn't dealing with the gravel licensing and alternate just think this is strictly to implement and bring the provincial guidelines. So I'll have somebody wants to make a motion.
I'll make the motion to get it on the table. Be it resolved, we do hereby give second reading to bylaw number 1705/05/2022, being a bylaw to regulate and control mining and transportation of aggregate in the rural municipality of Cornwallis. Further be it resolved that council directs CAO to review the aggregate license fee structure, and there'll be something more in here, is to set up a committee with a few of the aggregate owners, with some residents and with council, because we had just have it that now it's quite a while.
So can you read the motion over just so we're clear on?
Here's all that council is accepting second reading and authorizes CAO to review the aggregate fee structure and set up a meeting with aggregate landowners.
Aggregate landowners plus residents in the area. And with committee of council. So that's to be determined.
I'll have a second, on the floor. Councilor Mitchell seconds that. Oh, Councilor, so second is the seconder.
Okay.
Now we'll leave Councilor Brown the floor to explain.
The reason is like the regulation and control line, that's a given. But past council, we had promised people that were in the audience of the day that there would be a meeting set up for feedback from aggregate people and from our concerned residents in the area, along with council. That has not been done yet. And I would like to see that done, so when we then review the license fee structure, we understand all sides of the party, all parties' side of view.
I have point of order. Are you wanting this to be an amendment to the bylaw? Or are you the administration?
Administration to investigate the license fee structure.
I suggest you do that in a separate resolution, as this is dealing with the bylaw.
Councilor Brown, thanks, Danielle. Actually, I was gonna suggest something to Councilor Brown. Why don't we just deal with the fee structure that is the guidelines for the new fees set out by the province? Because if you look at the bylaw that's in front of us, that's all that's the only thing we're seeing. The bylaw has a few other pages. That could be an amendment when we move forward and put that licensing fee and other things that council would choose to
Well,
put
there's
in.
one other item that was in this given resolution should not have been there either.
I know it would. We don't know who put this resolution. It was previous CEO. So there needs to be a lot of thought process. I did reach out to the previous CEO to give us the numbers for the last 5 years of aggregate fees that were collected. He couldn't find it for me. So we don't know what it is. I'm gonna assign the CEO hopefully to get that. We need that to come up with some good numbers at the end of the day. But I don't think this one here, like when we gave it the first reading, this is just to adopt the new provincial fees. That's all that we're dealing with here. Correct, Danielle? That's all that.
Yes,
Yeah.
because if you're gonna add another committee, you're gonna have
Yeah.
to change your organization
Yeah.
bylaw to appoint that as a committee. It can be done, just not right now.
So Councilor Brown, are you okay with that? To
I'm
amend your motion?
okay with making the motion for the regulation
The reg-
and take that It's further be it resolved portion, that has to go also with what I added.
Council Maxwell, okay, they're both in agreement, Council,
The one
just
should
to
have been there.
adopt the provincial fee structure. That's what the motion really needs to be. Then we will call a meeting. I agree with Council Brown. We need some data even before we call a meeting with residents and committees. We need to get that data for the last 5-10 years to see what will come in. So if everybody's okay with the amended motion, Councilor Ross, do you have anything?
I just want to say that gravel pit owners and residents are very valuable stakeholders in this.
Agree.
They do need to be involved, but yeah, just not when we're.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just need to focus on the one.
Yeah.
Get it through because the province wants it and then go to the other one, et cetera.
Yeah, totally support.
So can you read out the motion, just so we're all clear what we're dealing with here in the motion in a second? On this. Just want to make sure.
Well, okay, be it resolved, council accepting second reading. And approving the CEO, directing the CAO to review, sorry, Daniel, you not with it? No, what are we talking about now? Right here. Oh, there
I
it
think
is.
the further be it resolved, very other two.
Okay, so the last line we're taking note,
Yeah.
okay, so be it resolved, we do hereby give second reading to bylaw number 170505, 2022, being a bylaw to regulate and control mining and transportation of aggregate in the rural municipality of Cornwallis.
Okay, Council Brown is okay, and the second is okay with that. And,
Yeah.
Anybody else have any other questions or input? You want to close on the call for the question? All in favor? Second, reading. Now we'll go to third. reading.
I'll make that motion as the same as it came up on second reading.
So,
Within the-
yeah, it's the same, only, so I don't need to repeat it for the sake of time. It's the same, only it's third reading.
Third reading.
Yes.
So anybody else has a question? I'll call for the question. All in favor?
They need to-
The second, well, yeah, Councilor. All in favor? Okay. So the fee structure,
Who is the
Councilor Maxwell is the
Okay.
second.
who is first?
Councilor Brown.
Okay.
Police report. General business.
Miss number 12 from finished business.
Unfinished business.
Open procedural
Bylaw, second and third.
Yeah. I'm just gonna make a comment here before we have a mover. There's no resolution. When we gave reading to the first reading, I asked for the highlights for the changes. And actually, there was changes made and we weren't highlighted. I'd be very cautious. I think we need to table that one again. Actually,
There's a lot of things.
Councillor Drohan made me aware that there's some sections in there I think we need to get advice from, like removing council, like the way we interpreted. Council can remove or expel a council member. I think only Queen's Bench judge. We need to get a legal opinion. We didn't get, well, it was included in the first reading, but I think when we give second and third reading, we've got to be very careful. Make sure we don't put ourselves in a judge's position, the way it's worded. So is that the way it's supposed to go in? Okay, what's your motion?
Well, there's no motion there.
Well, do you want to table it? Yeah, there was really some language put in there that I'm not sure if council would, I think we need to get advice either from the municipal relations individual, or we need to discuss it as a group, because I don't want to put myself in a judge's position. There's Queen's Bench judge should be expelling council members, not members of council each other. So,
Yeah, so
Yeah.
can we table it to another meeting just to
it's your,
check the amendments on it? So
Yeah. your mo- I'll put
What's the
put it out
second,
before
second meeting?
second reading.
Can we
Well,
table
the second-
can we table the second and third reading until next
I
meeting?
think so.
Do we?
Well, yeah,
correct
we
the
can,
amendment?
second, I'll have a motion.
Yeah, motion to table it. yes.
Okay, Council Grohan, can I have a second? Second. Got any more questions? Yes, that was background information. I caught it and I just didn't feel
Yeah, no,
comfortable
there's
dealing with language that I don't feel comfortable
there's
with.
a few things in there that we're not sure that are.
So I think we
Supposed to
need
be,
to ask the CAO, or is it himself that contacts Trammell there to discuss the
Yes,
language?
yeah, the CEO. Yeah.
Okay.
Send him the first reading and see if it accounts as
We'll send the one that we,
Yeah.
that
first
previous
reading.
council, doesn't previous council do this once a year?
Yes,
So
Yeah.
last year's needs to be compared to this year's. Yeah.
yeah, no, that's a good point. We'll give him direction.
Once a term, right?
Yeah, once a term, we have to review that and the organization bylaw.
Yes.
Yeah, everything. That's high on our list to deal with and the organization bylaw. Yeah. Okay, so I've got a mover, seconder. Any more discussion?
Is it said it was to our next meeting, next regular meeting? Or,
We will get, we've got contacts, because of the transition, there was stuff put in front of us here that needed to be dealt with. But
Who is the motion there?
Council Grohan and Council
And
Ross.
Jim, okay.
Yeah.
Ross.
Yeah, the seconder,
Yeah, oh, I
to
didn't have
table it and for you to get the legal opinion from our lawyer. It's paragraph or clause 15.6 and I believe 15.7 that I really question the language in, to see if we're well within our right to expel council members. I think that's a Queensman judge. It's a job, not us.
So it is. given to the next-
So which meeting, they're wanting which meeting to go to next?
That the meeting will depend on how quick the CEO can get the information out. We'll probably want to make it for Thursday because, yeah, you need time to discuss that with the legal counsel. Yeah, and if I have to call a special meeting, we need to think about a special meeting for the organization bylaw and the procedure bylaw. And we'll you help Daniel help us walk them through that. Yeah, so is everybody clear what we're doing? Like I say, with the transition and not being able to find all this information, it was very difficult the last few days for the CEO to work with this. Okay, we'll call for the question. Are all in favor to table this until the CEO talks to our legal counsel? Yes, call for the question. Okay, carry. Okay. General business, you go ahead.
Blue Hills Policing Report and Stats. Want me to put this up?
No, I generally, they're here in the audience. Normally, they're here presenting and then you receive it. So I don't think we have to go through it line by line. That's
no,
normally what they
Mr.
do.
Chairman, normally, since COVID started, they didn't come. And they just present their data for us. So I just make the motion to receive their information and have it put on the website. On Wallace website. If anybody wants to see it.
That's Councilor Brown. Can I have a second for that? Councilor Ross, seconds to receive it. I'd be, before I put it up on the website, I think, I'd like the CEO to contact the Blue Hills to make sure that is public information, just to make sure we're not publishing something that is might be confidential information. Just want, normally they do a verbal.
I think it's public information because.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
have
it's
to
a-
come in as a delegation.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. I just want to make sure that when it comes to confidentiality. and all that. Okay, so, the second, we'll call for the question to basically receive it and put it on our website. All in favor? Okay, carry. Okay. 11 or 13.2.
Cocker, I don't know.
Cockroach.
Cockroach acceptance certificate.
I'll, make that motion that we set the subdivision.
There's a resolution there too.
Is there?
Yeah, there is. Yeah, like I say. Under 13.2. right there.
So it says, yeah, but be it resolved that the RM of Cornwallis 2-year road warranty has expired and we received a satisfactory acceptance inspection certificate from engineering firm Burns Mandel. The RM releases the line of credit held by Sunrise Credit Union as per the agreement.
Can I have a second? Chair Buss. Second. Councilor Brown, seconded. You see that resolution there? Yes. Councilor Ross, you got any?
No.
Anything to add? Yeah, Councilor Brown.
No, it's just basically the way that we have done subdivisions in the past, that there's a warranty on them. When it expires, we have a release from the engineer.
I'll make a comment. Actually, the author of this 2-year warranty thing is sitting in our audience, thanks to Reg Atkins, and he brought that in years ago. It just, we got, at the end of the day, a couple of times we got stung with extra expenses and the developer's up and gone. This basically allows us, and Mr. Kugaroots pays the engineer to sign off on that. So I think it's a good policy. Sometimes there's road issues, ditch issues, culverts. This protects the municipality when the developer's up and gone. Okay. Oh. I call for the question. Yeah. All in favor of releasing the warrant? Sorry.
So this next one is the plan of works.
Yes.
Northeast 27 can acquire. Be it resolved that the municipality acquire the land described as follows for municipal purposes. Part northeast 1/4 section 27 Kennedy WPM shown as parcel A on a plan of works prepared by Stephen Bradley, Richard MLS, and sworn on 12th October 2022. Deposit 1257/22. The plan of works referred to above is hereby approved.
Mover.
I'll make the motion that is read.
And I have a seconder. Oh, Shane. Yeah, okay, sorry about that. Councilor Rohan. Okay.
This is to deal with down at Shader for the wastewater
Yes.
project.
Well, just for the audience, again, to bring council up to speed, because I mean, there's a current lift station there that's on an easement. When the engineer, Burns Mandel, engineered that, he had recommended to council to purchase that, I believe it was a ½ an acre. So that Manitoba Hydro didn't want 2 services. We needed to trench a high voltage line across the road or put the lift station in the vicinity where the lift station is now and put everything under one service. So we have to go purchase the land instead of working with easements. His recommendation was to purchase the land, and that's the final touches of it. So they've agreed, the landowner has agreed to sell it. It was $15,000. So, yeah. So that's a little bit of feedback there. So we need that before we award the tender. Okay, if nobody else has any more questions or inquiries, I'll call for the question. All in favor? Carry.
So the next point is appointments to the Keystone Planning Board. So we just need a resolution to appoint 2 councillors to the Keystone Planning Board with 1 alternate.
Can I make a recommendation before we put any names up there? If we had, if council so chooses, a 2-year term, just throw it on the table if whoever moves it, and then we can discuss it. Just so there's a good move, because every 2 years, different mindset comes on there. Just something that I thought about when I see the resolution, just some food for thought. So whoever wants to move what's on there, to add that clause, and then we can discuss it.
So you're saying adding a clause for the appointments to the planning board to 2-year term.
2-year term. So in 2 years, we can revisit it. It might end up being, gives other councils a chance to get involved. And just so for council, right now, it's the 2 Reeves of Elton that are on the board, 2 councils, and then 2 alternates. So we'll have to keep in mind. Yeah, and my understanding is Elton has already appointed their Reeve and a councillor.
I'll make that motion with 2-year term.
Yeah.
It could be same people, it could be different people. It's not a given thing. We'll put that on the table and suggestions on who's appointed to the board.
Motion, we need a second for that.
Have you got names
2-year
or
term.
for the?
Or you wanted a separate motion for the 2-year term?
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay. So that's-
So we'll listen to who you're thinking. You want on yourself.
I think that you just need to add the seconder for the motion to have it a 2-year term. And then you can go into the appointments of 2 + 1 alternate. So Bob and Gary. And then you can go into who you want to appoint. So go ahead.
So is that the first motion then?
Yeah, now
So-
you need, now you want to decide who you're appointing.
So I'll leave, folks, I'm open. Let's see what you folks are thinking. Obviously, it's gonna be the Reeve. I mean, the Reeve for the last numbers of years, we're the 2 Reeves of both municipalities. So it's gotta be myself. I mean, that's obvious. So who?
Discussion.
Discussion. Well, there's no mover. This one's always a tough one. It would have been nice if we could have had a meeting before, but at the end of the day.
I would be interested on being on it. I've been on for a little while at Keystone, but I've been on revenue planning for a number of years, so I'm familiar with what's going on. I would consider being on
On the Keystone board. Okay, so if I have a mover, if not, I'm gonna move it, but I always like to leave it up to the.
Shane, would you like to be the alternate?
I could be the alternate, sure.
Okay. So Council Brown, here you got your name, so
Oh, with that motion
Motion.
that we nominate Councilor Brown, Aquifer as the primaries, and then Councilor Drowan as the alternate.
yeah, can I have a second? Council Maxwell second that.
We had the motion to make it a 2-year term. That was the first one. And this one is a motion to appoint Sam, Reeve, Ofer, and Counselor Brown, and a spare, or sorry, an alternate Drohan. Correct? Sorry, correct me what I'm doing wrong.
So you had a resolution on the floor, your resolution read, though, said you're appointing on like for now.
Blank, yeah. So it says, okay, right, thank you. Be it resolved that counselors, well, it should be Reeve, Ofer, and Counselor Brown be appointed to the Keystone Planning Board with Drohan being alternate. Is that correct? For a 2-year term.
Yes, now it's already moved and seconded by Brown.
Correct.
Is that how the conversation was?
Correct.
Yes,
Okay.
so now we need to vote.
So we don't need a second motion.
No.
Okay, gotcha.
That's what I was thinking at the start, just to have everything. So we've got those appointments. Is anybody any questions? What the- Terry, can I call for the question? Yeah. You're done? Call for the question. All in favor? Yep. There we go.
Okay, and then the only other addition was
The,
sending someone
AM.
to the AM.
that's 13.6. Whoa, there you go. The AMM. The border revisions is after that. We got 2 more.
I'll make a motion and that be it resolved that Councilors Maxwell and Brown and Drohan attend the AMM conference next week and bring a report back to council at the next regular meeting.
Okay, there's a mover. Second, I have a second. Yeah, Councilor Rohan seconded. Okay, any discussion? And just for the audience, normally administration would book that, but in last 2 weeks, people being off with COVID, people leaving us, personnel leaving us, there's no registration, so we're scrambling to get people registered. We're pretty confident the registration will take place. We do have hotel rooms up for them, so that's one good thing. So that's good. So I'll call for the question. Everybody in favor? Enjoy it, folks. Bring us back a good report. And some grant money. Okay, so the next thing is 13.6, the Board of Education. So that one there will. So the Councilor Ross, you will have to excuse yourself. Yeah. Just give, let's throw in a minute, just give us a minute here, folks. That's the decision we made from the board. Have you got some type of resolution there?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. You type something out there and we'll see what the council decides. Again, that,
I have no idea what do you want to do.
either you want me to give it for you?
Problem.
I don't want to give a resolution, but to put it on the table, I think we need to accept, in my opinion, the assessors. Yeah. Yeah, but just to,
Yeah.
that will be the, just the gist of the motion. Oh, I- You just wait for. Rowan to come back. Yes, excuse me. Thanks, his property.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
I make the motion that we go with the recommendation of the assessment grant. The Board of Revision confirm the assessed value. $455,500.
Good, that's Councilor Brown moved it, and I have a second. Councilor Maxwell. Councilor Brown, any more?
Well, they're the professionals at it. You know, pretty much have to take their word that it's how it goes. And it is.
Councilor Maxwell. Yep. I have to agree. I've always struggled with these board of revisions. They are the professionals, like Councilor Brown says. I have to believe that the professionals at it, then we'll just have to go with the assessment, the assessed value. Okay, anybody else? Anything else? I'll call for the question. All in favor? Yep. Okay. Inquiries. Yeah, just gives it council members an opportunity. Okay. Number 14, inquiries. Does any council member have any inquiries for the CEO to look into?
I had one, but I can't remember what it
It
was.
might come back to you, so I'll let you, Councilor Ross, everybody an opportunity. Even little as who sweeps the snow dust off the front steps there in the morning.
Yeah, did we find out?
What's that?
Did we find out who does it?
I'll leave that up to the CEO. Yeah. Anybody else have help? Yeah.
When would the next Keystone, so the next police board meeting be held?
I didn't hear that.
The next police board meeting?
We have to appoint board members. That's part of the organization bylaw. We have to do that to appoint a police board. member from council, so that's part of the organization bylaw. And I'm gonna talk to the CEO. We wanted to get past this meeting and not overburden that. It probably will be a special meeting and to deal with the procedure bylaw and the organization bylaw.
Mr. Chairperson, if I may.
So is that a council Brown, is that? Yeah, we need to call it. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't want to overburden staff. They're 3 days into their new position. And I appreciate all the work they're doing. And he's asked me to hold off on calling too many meetings right away. I don't want to wait till December if at all possible, and we'll get we've got good contacts to find out from municipal relations if we can call a special.
I think the easy answer is as soon as we can.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like, yeah.
Folks, we need to be
definitely.
patient here, folks. There's two new intern positions, and I don't think council wants to overburden.
Mr.
So
Chairperson.
you got any thoughts about that, Councilor Brown? Have you got?
No, it's just fine.
Yeah, we need to, there's so many other committees that we need to, the organization bylaw. It would have been unfair to put it on tonight because of the scramble to get the minutes. Excuse me, we got the meeting inquiries here, so any more inquiries? And Councilor Ross, yeah, I'll call for the question of all inquiries. Wait, that was only one inquiry, and we'll get back to the public and to council when we're going to follow the procedure bylaw when you're ready. Yeah. Okay, so we'll move on to any notice of motion. Anybody has a notice of motion? I'll for the new council members, I'll ask Danielle Carrier, who's CEO from Whitehead, explain the notice of motion to the audience and to the new council. What we would do with a notice of motion. You could do it, Daniel.
A notice of motion.
Yeah.
If you wanted to bring a resolution up at the next meeting.
Yeah.
If you're wanting to bring a resolution back to the table that you've dealt with in the past, and there are special procedures for that, so please follow the municipal act as it says. Yeah,
That's good.
just giving notice of what you intend to bring to the next meeting.
Yeah, so
Yep, what have you got there?
I will be bringing forward the repealing of the beaver policy and the indemnity bylaw at the next motion,
Okay,
at the next meeting.
so that's me, good. That's one of the reasons we got Danielle here to help us through that. There's 3 new counselors and to help us through this for the new council members to understand the notice of motion too.
What are you saying with the indemnity bylaw? What do you want done? for the amendment?
We'll be making amendment to the
Yeah.
indemnity bylaw to match with what we decided at the last meeting.
So. So what do you want to change? What is
The cell phone.
Yeah.
Yeah. the cell phone.
the subsidy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just for council, what Councilor Ross was referring to and discussing with the CEO from Whitehead, who was here tonight, is we passed a resolution at the last meeting to cancel or dissolve the reimbursement of council members' cell phone. So we were advised that we have to go through the proper procedures. So that's the notice of motion he put forward for the next meeting. We'll revisit it, correct?
I apologize that I didn't know. And,
Yep, I mean, we're due, okay? So all in favor of, for that notice of motion? Put it on the table.
You don't need. a
We don't need to
resolution,
wait.
it's just- Yeah.
No, adjournment. I'll have a motion to adjourn the meeting, because that's the last thing on the other. What's that?
Brown.
Okay, Council Brown. Yep, all in favor. Yep. Want to thank the audience. This was a real challenging meeting with a new CEO, just couldn't find all the documents. As you can see, we have to defer a few. So we'll communicate what the next meeting will be. Thanks for attending. Good job there, everybody.
Thanks,
Danielle.